Oh, what a lovely day. I know we're just talking about Star Wars, but that's from
what
Mad
a lovely
Max.
tea party.
Ha.
If you know, you know.
If you do know, you know. Big Mad Max guy? We've never talked about Mad Max.
Man, it's been a long time. Like, I'd have to go back and rewatch a little bit.
Did you watch Fury Road?
No.
It's excellent.
I'm like way back. I'm talking about the original
Road Warrior,
Road Warrior, Beyond Thunderdome, you know?
Yeah. And the original Mad Max. It's all great. We entertain and I celebrate his entire catalog. It's Orange Blue today, presented by Champ Honda, Cecil Lammey, Andrew Mason.
Howdy.
Mace, I don't even know really where to begin because we have so much to say, so much from the coordinators, so much from the practice field. Russell Wilson's on fire. Adam Trautman described as QB friendly. Like, we got a ton to get to, brother.
It was as hot as the weather. We're looking at our first 100-degree day of the summer here in Denver, potentially. By the end of practice, we were looking at temperatures being 96 degrees. It was a scorcher out there by everyone's standards other than, say, Arizona standards.
Yes.
Right.
But it was a scorcher. We've got a scorcher for you in today's show, and it's about the tight ends. You're going to be writing about Adam Trautman a little bit later.
We talked to him today.
And
you've talked to him earlier.
I've talked to him earlier. We got some clips for you here coming up. Do you want to start with what Lombardi said about him? Because I think that's a pretty good jumping off
That's
point.
the jumping off point. It's the jumping off point in my story, because actually I did ask Adam specifically about, this. A specific thing that Joe Lombardi said. Hey, let's roll that beautiful beam footage and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I think he's solid. He's a guy that might not have the speed of those guys, but he's very quarterback friendly, meaning the quarterback knows exactly where he's going to be, what he's going to do, and if you're one of those types of receivers that really talks to the quarterback with your body language and you make the right decisions, then it's somebody that the quarterback's going to have confidence in. So
talk to your quarterback with that body language, a little body talk for you Rat fans from the 80s. Anyway,
so you have body talk from Rat. Queen has a song called Body Language off of what I believe was their worst LP, and that was Hot Space. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a video that got banned on MTV, by the way.
Really?
Video for Body Language. Yes.
Okay. Well, we won't get Adam Trautman banned on this show. We're going to talk a lot about him because he's the Broncos tight end, and there's a reason why, Mace.
Yeah, it's the being on the same page with Russell Wilson and also being the all-around tight end, somebody who is involved with the blocking end of it as well as in the passing game. What you're starting to see now day after day from Adam Trautman, you're seeing those plays happen down the field. Of course, he had the one-handed catch today. Now, that being said, the safeties out there were Devin Key and Delaren Turner-Yell because, of course, you've had, Caden Stearns has been on and off the field. Justin Simmons injured, PJ Locke injured, Kareem Jackson being on a vet plan. So I'm not sure you're doing that against the top safeties, but it's still a great play by Trautman, to put his hand out, a great pass by Russell Wilson, just threading the needle in there. But here's the thing. That's the kind of play that develops trust. Let's go back to the start of training camp when Greg Dulcich is going down the scene. Justin Simmons is tight on him, and Dulcich doesn't make the play. Simmons does, and it turns into a pick.
Right.
Okay, you're figuring out, can this player make a play in tight coverage? Well, when Trautman, no matter who it's against, makes a play in that sort of tight coverage, in that small window, then the quarterback starts thinking, okay, I can have a chance at a big play by going to this part of the field.
Right.
He's going to have a chance to make a play in traffic.
And even though Adam Trautman is not the fastest guy or the largest guy, he's their best guy.
Best all around
position. Chris Manhertz is the best blocker.
Like if they have 6 tight ends, right? Like Chris Manhertz would be like number 1 as a blocker, but probably number 5 as a pass catcher, maybe even number 6 as a pass catcher, right? With Adam Trautman, I think you're talking about a guy who is number 2 as a blocker behind only Chris Manhertz, and maybe no worse than number 3 as a pass catcher. So then you add that up to 2 and 3, it's an average of 2.5. Whereas maybe for Greg Dulcich, you're talking about him, being like an average of like a 3 or so, and
right.
ditto for Albert O, because they'd be the 2 top pass catching guys, but they're the 2 top. They're 2 They're probably the two lowest blocking tight ends, whereas Adam Trautman is probably the only tight end in that room. Actually, not probably, definitely, who is in the top half of the group in both aspects.
Yes, he's above average as both.
Right. That's why he's going to play extensively. And as we've talked about, I mean, this is a guy who had a huge learning curve coming from FCS non-scholarship level University of Dayton. Go Dayton Flyers. If you're a Dayton fan, you know that cheer. And he appears to be blossoming right in front of our eyes.
And why not Adam Trautman? I know Stokely got upset with me because I was like, if you have a trained eye, you already know Adam Trautman. And because Stoke was like, I don't know about this guy. I'm like, well, know about him because he can play.
Doesn't Stoke have a trained eye?
I believe so.
He played the game for a long time.
And what's great about those old pros, sorry, Stoke, old pros, they see it quick. But Trautman is the type of guy coming from Dayton. That is such a jump, everyone. Non-scholarship to the jumping to the NFL, having Sean Payton move multiple picks to get him, and then trading for him. So not only was it coming out of Dayton, he liked him enough to go get him.
Yeah. And part of it was just kind of how the draft fell. But I mean, this is looking like an absolute steal for the Broncos.
We saw him at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, back in 2020. One of our last big events before COVID was seeing Adam Trautman in action. Yeah. I liked him then. I liked the pick. I liked the pick when the Saints made it back in 2020.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you're talking about him, and another example of a player that with whom patience was required, also coming from FCS, but the scholarship level, that was Dallas Goedert going to Philadelphia. That patience has been rewarded. You see Indianapolis with Mo Alley Cox, a former basketball player at VCU, which has no football program. Their patience is being rewarded with a pretty good all-around tight end. And so sometimes when you have these uber athletic players who come from lower levels, you just have to give them time. Unfortunately, the NFL is not a patient place,
right?
But it'll be rewarded. I think the Broncos are going to reap the rewards of the work the Saints put in on Adam Trautman over the last 3 years.
Well, and one thing that you and I both said about Trautman when he came out of Dayton, both liking him, both having him as a sleeper, is like, wow, what a great receiver. He had 14 touchdowns his final season, not his career. 14 touchdowns in one season at Dayton. And we were talking about his receiving ability. Here's something that's kind of maybe held him back a little bit, is that he's become such a good blocker.
Well, they kept using him in the two tight end packages over and over again.
It happened to Mercedes Lewis, who was a great receiver at UCLA. It happened to Daniel Graham, great receiver.
And I think it accelerated this past season when Sean Payton was out.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And that he really got pigeonholed. And look, they're still doing an awful lot of Sean Payton things. And if you look at when you're watching Derek Carr run that offense, that's a Sean Payton offense still, but it's not Sean Payton at the controls. And so you do lose something there. And I think one thing the Saints lost in terms of with Adam Trautman is they lost a little bit of the plot in terms of the vision, to kind of use the Sean Payton word. He always talks about vision with players. I like to ask him about it because it usually leads to a good answer. I think they may have gotten sidetracked on the vision for Adam Trautman once Sean Payton walked out the door.
Right.
Now he comes here, and effectively it's almost like they picked up where they left off when Payton took the year off and went into broadcasting.
Yeah, I talked to Adam Trautman in practice last week. Here's what he had to say about the love of Sean Payton.
Sean Payton obviously loves you. What does it feel like to have the support of your coach that much, so that when he goes somewhere, he's like, hey, go get my guy?
Yeah, no, it feels great. And it's nice to have someone that believes in you. You know, he drafted me and he traded for me. So obviously that means something. So it's always nice to have someone believe in you and believe in your abilities and believe that you can add to the culture. And obviously we're trying to build something here, and he believes obviously that I can help be a part of that. So it's definitely a great feeling.
You were a touchdown hog in college. Any notes to the coach that, hey, get some looks for me in the end zone, maybe a career high in touchdowns this year?
I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. We got a long ways to go.
Mace, you know this from talking to a zillion players. Sometimes you can hook them with that, and sometimes they Kimbe you. This is what Trautman would not take the bait on my, hey, you going to score a bunch of touchdowns this year?
Okay, by and large, the guys on this team, when I've had one-on-one interviews, They're very good at not taking that.
They're very good at that.
Oh,
Yes.
they've had some coaching going on behind the scenes in the
Sean
last
Payton coaches you more than just
few
on the
weeks.
field.
Yeah, coaches to, you know, dial it back. It's very much the anonymous donors thing. You know, even though Sean himself lost the plot about 3 weeks ago on that, that's still very much in the players' minds. You can tell when they're doing an interview.
Oh yeah.
But we try. We keep trying.
We give it our best efforts. And Adam Trautman, the body language thing and the QB friendly thing, something that we have to talk about just to final hammer on the nail on this thing is like, it's that trust you build from knowing I'm going to be in the right spot and also using your physicality, something Dulcich has, but he doesn't really use other than his speed. He'll be open, he'll catch it. But in that play you mentioned that was picked off, great play by Caden Stearns early in camp. That's because Dulcich did just go rip it. He could have ripped it. He could have grabbed it out of the air. He could have used his body, boxed out guys. He didn't. Trautman does.
And maybe he's got to learn to use that a little bit better. Look, Trautman is in year 4. Dulcich is in year 2, even though
Big difference.
Dulcich had the higher level college work coming at UCLA rather than the University of Dayton. But yeah, it's something that I think Dulcich can learn from. Look, and I think we're going to see a lot of Greg Dulcich, but it's going to be in specific packages more so than when it's 1st and 10. I think when it's 1st and 10, you're going to see a heck of a lot of Adam Trautman.
And I think part of this with your 2 tight end sets, we're assuming Chris Manhertz is back and healthy. Mace, this offensive line is trouble. It's bad. It's bad.
Can we talk about that hug/hold that we saw today?
There were hugs with Nathaniel Hackett in a different way. There's hugs this year too.
There was, first of all, let's just set it up here. One of the team periods was entirely devoted to the run. Usually it's the 9-on-7 period, but they went with a full run team period, 12 snaps. And I believe it was the second play that Jonathan Cooper gets a good jump and Garrett Bowles the old Garrett Bowles Valentine wants to hold you.
I choose you.
I deleted this from Twitter/X because I thought it was a little below the belt, but I had it up for a while. It was on Valentine's Day in 2020. Roses are red, violets are blue. Holding offense number 72.
Wow. Wow.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
Come on.
But it's worrisome when we're seeing it now.
All the time.
Every day.
Every day, like Vic Fangio.
I'm getting concerned about the relocation of the GB zone back into the holding zone.
Well, what do we talk about? Boy, that was almost a trip up. What do we talk about every day is confidence. I think Garrett Bowles is losing confidence. Whether it's the injury or not, Mace, I think he's losing confidence, and that's disaster for this team.
Yes.
The mental space for Garrett Bowles, and I give Garrett so much credit because he's fought through that, and he's done a good job supporting his family. Garrett Bowles is a good man.
And he made the life-changing money.
But if he gets in the wrong headspace, it's over.
That may be it. I mean, but I don't think we can dismiss the physical part as well of coming back off of the fractured ankle. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. His feet just do not look quick right now.
And that was always an asset for him.
That was his
thing.
His superpowers were his protective instinct they talked about and his footwork, right? Remember the whole thing, he protects his quarterback like he protects his wife, right? Like that mindset was one of the things that got him to this level. And the other was outstanding athleticism and footwork. Remember, this dude was a lacrosse player at one point. The guy can get downfield. He had a little bit of dancing bear to him. We're not seeing that right now. We're not seeing the same quick feet, the same agility out there. And look, we've talked about it before. We talked about it again. For O-linemen, especially O-linemen deep into their career, fractured ankle is a very tough injury to come back from. And we have seen players with similar injuries who were not the same after that.
And would you believe that Cam Fleming has played for 10 seasons, Garrett Bowles for 7, and Cam is younger than him?
Well, yeah, I would believe that.
You would know that, but a lot of people get tripped up by that. But it's like, yeah, you had an older rookie at the time This was always where you're going to be. You were going to fast forward everything with Garrett Bowles, and Father Time is undefeated. So we hope he turns it around. We hope he gets better, but Mace, it is very concerning.
It is.
And I'm sorry, Swink, we're scaring you. Like it's what we're seeing.
And with Russell Wilson, when he was talking about the offense and the offensive line, I mean, and he talks about the protection being great. He's going to say that. It doesn't do any use to be negative up there when you're on the box. And Russ, I think the psychology of Russ, and this is probably a good transition to our second topic here. The psychology of Russell Wilson, I've tried to kind of, study what he said. It's very much kind of straight out of going all the way back to The Power of Positive Thinking, Norman Vincent Peale, which actually goes hand in hand with his own religious faith, right?
Yes.
He always is trying to get himself into that positive headspace. And there, hey, that works for some people. It wouldn't work for me, but what works for me doesn't work for you. What might be right for you may not be right for some, as was said on Different Strokes.
Right.
The world don't move to the beat of just one drum. So I'm not going to sit here and impugn Russell Wilson for saying that. It's what works. What works for him is the optimism and trying to boost. What works for me tends to be a more of a reality-based approach and kind of confronting it head on. And everyone knows I've had my issues left, right, and center, but that's what works for me. This is what works for us. Yeah. So he's going to be positive about Garrett Bowles. I know when we were hearing his comments about the O-line as he was doing his press conference today, I know DMAC and I kind of looked at each other like, all right.
Yeah. We get it.
I
Russ.
I get why he's boosting them, but the reality of what we've seen protection wise.
You know who else did that though? Von Miller.
Yeah.
Von Miller said Paxton Lynch was good. Like he went out of his way. Talk about Trevor Siemian being good. Like Vaughn was power positive thinking. It's something that I admire.
Didn't Vaughn say that Trevor was kind of like Peyton Manning at one point?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, we get it.
But I think it's a different psychology thing with Vaughn, because I think with Vaughn it's about being in the moment. Like Vaughn wanted to stay in Denver, loves Denver, right? When he's talking to Denver people, it's all we. But you get him in Buffalo, he's ecstatic about being on the Buffalo Bills. He's ecstatic about having Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs as his teammates, right? He was thrilled to be a Los Angeles Ram. Vaughn just loves wherever he is at that moment, and he's going to always see the good in it. With Russell Wilson, I think it's about trying to get himself in the positive headspace to believe that things are going to work out.
Yes. And it's something, this is completely off topic. I'll keep it somewhat brief. Mm-hmm. And you and I should discuss this, or maybe even like have a show about it. I've always been fascinated by the role of faith in football players' lives. I talked to Nader Abdallah at the Texas Nation game years ago. Mm-hmm. He was the first Muslim for Ohio State, where Coach Tressel allowed quotes from the Quran on the locker room wall. He asked him if he could, and he said yes, and it meant so much to him. So, whatever your faith is, whether it's Muslim or Christian or what have you, like just knowing that you got to put your belief in a higher power because you're putting your body on the line. Again, off topic, we don't have to discuss it, Mace, but it's always fascinated me.
It is. And what is interesting, if we want to kind of just delve deeper, we could do an entire show on this.
Oh, for sure.
But we know that the fastest growing religious segment in this country is none, right?
Yep.
But is the percentage of nuns, N-O-N-Es, not like Catholic nuns.
Right.
Is the percentage of nuns when it comes to religion lower in the NFL than in the general population? By the general population, I mean, the stats say what, about 25% now?
Right.
Myself included, I'll admit that. I wonder if it's lower in the sport of football.
I highly doubt it.
The nun percentage. I mean, I think the nun percentage is lower in football.
Oh, yes.
I think it's below that 20 to 25% that we see in the general population.
Yeah, you got to have faith, and in the NFL. So
well, not everyone. I mean, Arian Foster has talked about,
but the NFL didn't like that. See, so like,
Arian also claims that Arian Foster also claims that there's a script given every year.
Yeah. Okay, I got us off topic. That's a great,
that would
conversation.
Be
different show. We got a ton to get to on today.
It's a good chat for another program.
Russ on Time because my main thing of watching Russ, and I suppose that means it's time for the Russo-meter. That's right, everyone. Number 3 on the field, number 1 in your hearts. Russell Wilson was great.
Maybe his
today.
best day today.
And not just his best day because it was like slightly above average. Russ was damn good today.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved him being on time. I'm on the hill and I'm watching his feet, and I will say throw it when he's supposed to throw it, watching the routes, and he was throwing it when he was supposed to.
And a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, he wasn't doing that.
No.
2 weeks ago, you and I are probably both sitting there like, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it.
Hold.
Yeah. He's like, to use the when I was watching him 2 weeks ago, I was thinking of the announcer calling soccer on The Simpsons. Like there are 2 announcers, like one is Kent Brockman, the newscaster, saying, center holds it. And then there's the announcer in the other booth from either Mexico or Portugal, the nations in the game. He's like, center holds it. And that's in my mind. Russ, the clock's on, I'm like, holds it. Now he's getting it off and he's making some plays.
He's setting it off. How about that?
That's probably got a better connotation than getting it off.
I believe so.
Whoops.
Let's get it on.
Uh-oh.
It talks about Russell Wilson being on time because he's getting it. And the thing is, and I said this on Stokely and Zach, this drives me crazy, Mace, as you turn beat red.
I do that all the time.
You
Like
do.
Just the accidental.
Yeah, it's fine. Get your mind out of the gutter, everybody. But anyway, what makes me frustrated, dude, is here's the thing.
I'm blushing.
It can work. We've seen it work. I believe in Sean Payton. You believe in Sean Payton. We know this offense can work. I see open guys. That's quote the water boy. I see a lot of guys. I see a lot of girls too. Like whatever. Like you see open guys. You see Russ getting the timing. But God bless America. If that offensive line doesn't block, none of this will work.
Right.
It will not work. It'll be the Achilles heel of the Broncos.
The evidence of it working, forget about Drew Brees. It's Teddy Bridgewater running this offense flawlessly back in 2019.
Beautiful.
It's Jameis Winston.
Yep.
Looking like he's got the Saints on track for a very good playoff season. I mean, they were 5-2 when he got the game he got hurt. That looked like a team that was going to win 11 games before he got injured. You've seen it with quarterbacks, and you could argue that Teddy Bridgewater and Jameis Winston are lesser quarterbacks than Russell Wilson. Certainly historically they are. So I think the one thing to be concerned about is whether the passes get knocked down at the line of scrimmage. But if Russ gets past that and he's getting the ball out quickly before the defenders can react. And one thing when Russ was at Wisconsin, watching him throw, going all the way back there, the thing that stood out to me was he was getting the ball out quickly. And the ball was fired and past the D lineman before they could react. And now you have an offense that maybe is getting him back to a little bit of that.
Not a deeper personal question, Mace. Maybe I shouldn't even ask you, but Roports said, quoting my God bless America, I do that. One, when I'd go have dinner with my grandparents, I wouldn't cuss because I never wanted to cuss around my grandparents.
So you'd say God bless America?
I would say God bless America and say something else. Plus, we're on the air. I don't want to cuss. Even though I'm from the country and I work in profanity like an artist works in oils and clays.
You're quoting the Christmas story, yes.
Exactly.
It was your true medium,
do you
a master.
Do we go a little Ned Flanders around your daughter? Because I chose
happily doodly doo, name Marino.
Flim Flarm Filth. I chose to wait until my kids were older to start really cussing in front of them. Again, that's not the great strategy, everyone. Don't do that.
Okay, I generally don't unless I'm making a point. Because by now, my daughter's 11. She's heard everything at some point, right?
Pretty much.
And I'm like, I don't want to hear you saying this, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But sometimes, but usually it's like a positive. Like there was something, we were at a baseball game a few weeks ago, and there was something I just came across, and I said, don't tell anyone I said this way, and don't say it yourself. I said, but this is pretty bleeping awesome, And I said the bleep, and she, Of course, when you're 11, you think that's kind of cool. You get a giggle, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay.
Well, it's just a little growing up thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what was bleeping awesome today? Russell Wilson.
Yeah, he had a great day.
He did. And Judy is going after Surtain. He got one. That doesn't happen all the time, maybe 2 times out of 10. Sutton was making plays, although I felt bad. Was it Delonte Hood that got
at the end zone?
Yeah, and I was like, Delonte Hood on court, that's like automatic. Whoop, touchdown. Yeah. Easy. So
The Damari Mathis, Jaquan McMillan tussle is interesting because one thing that you're seeing is as this offense is building confidence, they are picking on Damari a little bit.
Damari's not having a good camp. Not overall. There's been some days where he misses some stuff.
Yeah. Well, if J-Mac works his way up to the top line, all of a sudden J-Mac, it may not be used as much on special teams, which I think would make Ben Katwika unhappy because he loves J-Mac on special teams right now. Talked about it. I brought him up today, and he was very effusive in talking about the kid.
In his praise.
Yes. So
yeah, it's a great player.
All right. But yeah, it's funny how these guys we told you about a while ago are blossoming.
Well, and it's like your A.T. Perry tweet this weekend. It's like, yeah. I mean,
oh, come on. You thought the same thing.
I did.
When you saw when you were watching that game. Yes.
Yeah. A.T. Perry can make plays. Deuce Vaughn can make plays. There's a lot of pre-draft guys that are making plays.
Here's another thing about A.T. Perry that kills me a little bit.
Could have been a Bronco.
Yes. And who was the comp that you and I both made watching him?
Tim Patrick.
They could use another Tim Patrick is what I'm saying right now. They could have had Sam Howell. They could have had Isaiah Pacheco. They could have had A.T. Perry. All right. Forget about it. Let's not focus on what might be.
Let's my focus powers on if you were talking about Pacheco. But anyway, Vance Joseph, he leaked a little something about Drew Sanders because we're going to talk about leaky yardage and what that means for the next game. But his Sanders thing, it's the smallest comment, Mace, and I've made a big deal out of it because I have said there's some Micah Parsons in Drew Sanders. He's not a one-to-one comparison. Don't at me, bro. Cecil Lammey said Micah Parsons and Drew Sanders are the same. I didn't say that. But if you want to use Drew Sanders like the Cowboys use Micah Parsons, you could, and I think Vance Joseph will. And today he said, we won't show you things that we're going to do with him in the regular season. And it got me thinking, Mace, well, we see him cover. We see him at inside, stuff in a run. We haven't seen him yet rush the passer. That's what they're going to do. Oh, he's getting the Micah Parsons treatment.
That's excellent deductive reasoning there. I like that. Well done.
It's a good day when I can impress Andrew Mason.
I like a good mystery. I like a good caper, and like solving it. Right? Who doesn't?
Oh, okay. Did you? Nobody's picking up on that, and I'm like, dude, we got to talk about it because VJ he kind of spilled the beans by saying he wasn't going to spill the beans. Like, dude, you did it.
Process of elimination. Yeah. So we know what they're going to be working on when they start closing the practices here at the end of the preseason.
That we won't be able to report on.
Yeah. Because I imagine they're not going to show it in the preseason games.
No.
Why would you? You wouldn't want to put that on tape. Okay. Yeah. I'll here's my prediction. Drew Sanders gets at least one hit on Jimmy Garoppolo in the season opener.
That's a good
and everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh. And we'll be like, no. We told you.
Wait a second.
They're just hiding it a little bit.
Right.
But should it surprise anybody that if you were looking at Drew Sanders coming out, that was the first thing that you thought this guy can do it really well right away at a high level, and it's rush the passer.
Yes.
And now here's the thing. We've seen other inside linebackers go after the quarterback. I mean, Josie Jewell arguably had a sack today out there on Russell Wilson.
Yes.
And
we know Vance Joseph is going to be creative like he was working with Isaiah Simmons. We know that it's best for this team, and they did the same thing with Baron Browning, and I think that Drew Sanders could be a better rusher than Baron Browning.
Interesting.
And I flippin' love Baron Browning.
Yeah.
When he's healthy.
Can't make the club in the tub. Well, you can make it, but you might be on the pup.
Sean Payton talked about the old ice tubs.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
Oh, guys diving in right after practice.
The
huge garbage cans.
Yeah.
And then when they wanted more water, someone would come with a hose.
Right. What's your job? I hose down players in ice tubs.
And you know what? This has only changed like in the last 20 years. I
know.
The first training camps I covered saw
1,000%
the garbage bins and the tubs and all that.
Yep.
Oh man, good times.
Good times. How about good times talking to Vance Joseph when he talked about what needs to be better in the next preseason game?
I think our tackling wasn't great in that game. It was a lot of leaky yardage. Our third downs were too short, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. That's not good enough. And on contact, they were pushing for 2 or 3 more yards. So improved tackling. That's going to be a focus, obviously, and winning more third downs. We lost half of our third downs. that's not good enough. So those two areas are obviously areas you have to do on defense to be good. So that'll be the focus Saturday night.
I know it may be trendy for some, it might be trendy. We're using air quotes to like hate on Vance Joseph. I love him. I love him as a DC. I love him back. I love what he said because Mace, it's true.
Yeah.
100% true. The tackling wasn't good enough.
No. And the question is, can they get to another level? I mean, it was all the way through. I know he was talking about it early, but I mean, that 2-point conversion, you had guys getting pushed back. You should have been able to stop that 2-point conversion at the end of the game. It was actually, when I watched Matt Henningsen, that was the only moment I was disappointed in him, was because he was part of the crew getting pushed back. Other than that, he had a good game. But it just reminds you that, he's, there are some guys that probably have a little bit more physically than Matt Henningsen. That's just how it is. That's just how he is. He compensates that.
His game is technical.
His game is technical, and his game is, quick reaction and capitalizing when it's there. There's a reason why he got sacked last Saturday. There's a reason why he flashed in preseason games last year, and why it looks like he's doing the same again in the preseason this year. So, by the way, we should probably talk about the new Bronco.
Let's do it.
Yeah, Dwayne Washington, real quick. Joining the team, another running back. He's an
Saints player,
ex-Saints running back.
And by the way,
but mostly a special teamer here.
Yes, but he's a power guy. He's a big guy, and it reminds me of when he was on the team with Alex Collins. R.I.P. Alex Collins. I cannot believe Alex Collins has passed away. But yeah, Dwayne Washington. This is kind of one of those we should have expected it, right? Who's the former? Where's Dwayne or Divine Azigbo? Why did I call him Dwayne? Because it's Dwayne Washington.
Yeah.
Where's Divine Azigbo? Where's Dwayne Washington? These type of players. Well, Mace. Well, Dwayne's here.
Yeah, he's here. He was unsigned. You can get him in your camp late. He was a core special teamer for Washington last year as well. There are two levels to this. Number one, Tyler Beatty didn't practice today.
Right. And I was getting upset, not to cut you off.
Yeah.
I'll make it somewhat brief. When we kept, like, I don't know if I can say it, but like Javonte was getting some work with Jarrett Stidham. I'm like, no, get him out of there. I was telling people on the Hill, sign somebody. If you need running back depth, sign somebody.
Well, they're moving people around. I mean, Jaleel McLaughlin got some first team carries
more
today.
than one.
Yes.
Everybody. So I like this.
It looked like tight end today at running back.
Yes.
Tight end, there's been a lot of
Trautman catches some from DiNucci.
A lot of variance on the depth chart. And I think it was the same thing with running back today.
But I like this Washington signing.
Well, I'll tell you this, the special teams background, even though you need another running back with Beatty hurt just for reps and all that, the thing I would wonder about is this a shot to Tony Jones Jr. perhaps? Because that backup running back / special teams role, that was probably going to be Tony Jones Jr.
And I was going to say, weren't they on the Saints at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, Dwayne Washington is right there in that wheelhouse. Very interesting move regarding the back of the roster, I think, with Dwayne Washington coming in.
Yeah. Got to keep guys healthy, got to get guys healthy, and got to play your starters.
But I do think if Beatty's not back out there tomorrow, then it'll move everyone up. Washington, I don't think will be ready for much. It means that on Saturday, might see a decent dose of Jaleel.
Which means they won't be able to hide him. They weren't going to be able to anyway, but based on what you're saying, Saturday, if we see a half eddy of Jaleel McLaughlin, I don't even want to say the number he could get. You are not hiding Jaleel McLaughlin.
If he has another preseason performance like the one he did last week, and if he plays up to a half like you're mentioning, I believe you're talking about having to put him on the CJ Anderson plan of 10 years ago, where CJ did so well. He got hurt, but he did so well. They had to keep him on the 53.
Yeah, undrafted, knee injury in one game against Seattle in the preseason, made the 53.
That was enough. He put the film out there was so good. They're like, okay, we can't hide him. We need to keep him. Proved to be a wise move. If the guy's got the juice,
hey,
you figure it out.
There are no games.
You figure out other moves on the roster, but if he's clearly got it, you figure out a way to keep him. And one more good game for McLaughlin, and I think they're going to have to find a way to keep him on the 53.
Nobody asked about him today. I suppose I could. This is where I complain. I'm like, well, wait a second. I'm right there. I could have asked Russ about it, but I was kind of hoping. Trautman question got asked, of course, but we have so much from today. Are we done, or do you want to talk some more? Because there's so much. There's stuff from Katwika, Coach Katwika that was really good.
Let's dive into Katwika real quick.
All right. I know you love special teams, and it's worthy of talking about with this team because, as I said on Denver Sports Tonight last night, Mace, you love the Denver Broncos, right? Get ready for ugly football. They're going to win ugly this year. They're going to run the hell out of the ball. They're going to play great defense, and your kicking matters, and your special teams matters, and your return game matters because that game against Washington, you all counted as a win. I counted as a win. You counted as a win. Guess what it's going to be? Close. Why? Sam Howell's good, and Jahan Dotson might be their version of Tyreek Hill.
I got
fantasy note,
and I got news for you in Washington. They're seeing that as viewing this as a game that they have to win. Look, Washington was 8-1 last year. For a while, it looked like they were going to be a playoff team, even though they've got Sam Howell stepping in. This is a team that does believe that they can be a wild card team.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So they're looking at perspective matters. I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, Broncos are going to get that done." That's going to be a sneaky tough game, even though it's going to be Sam Howell's first road start. I think that's going to be a sneaky tough game for the Broncos.
Yep. And I think because of that, this special teams, if I'm willing to talk about special teams, base, it's critical. Right.
Usually it's you and DMAC that kind of ignore the phase, but
you can't ignore it. The way this team is built, you cannot.
Look, this team to be a playoff team, they're going to have to steal some games at the margins. And that's one of the things that special teams does. The hidden yardage involved with it, not making mistakes, and oh, by the way, forcing a few of their own and taking some timely risks. Okay. I think we're going to see some fake punts this year because Riley Dixon, we saw it back in 2016. He's actually got a pretty good arm, right? I also think we will see this team try to take advantage of the changed kickoff rule. Obviously, now you can call for a fair catch touchback anywhere inside the 25-yard line. I believe what we're going to see is this team try to set up some situations where the team can't fair catch it, has to return it. Maybe some squibber kicks, some line drive kicks. We're going to see all sorts of
and
different
we saw
things.
that against Arizona.
Yes.
We've seen it already this preseason.
The other thing on kickoffs, and Ben Katwika mentioned this today, he's not trying to blast it. He is trying to set up returns because he's trying to evaluate the guys on those returns. And, a guy, for example, who flashed, Jaquan McMillan. So
he's making plays.
That's the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make plays.
Got to make plays. All right. We feel like we still have a ton to talk about, but we can chop some of this up into our shows the rest of this week.
Mm-hmm.
Getting you ready. Mace will be heading out to
I leave Friday morning.
Okay.
So I'm here tomorrow.
We got you one more day.
You're stuck with me for another day.
We got you another day.
And actually, I mean, depending on the I thought I wasn't going to be available, but then
you said you'd be at the airport.
Well, I misread my itinerary. I'm actually getting in early. If I'm on time, I think I'll be able to join you on Friday.
Where is Andrew Mason?
The answer will be Santa Clara, California, sitting in my hotel room.
Okay.
Or
I was
maybe
going to say you're at a Starbucks lobby bar.
Maybe.
You got Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The Marriott hotels are pretty good on that sort of thing.
I feel good after today's practice. I feel hot. It's sweaty. But I feel
good.
It
was that was the hottest practice in a long time that we've had out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It actually felt really close to Arizona last week in terms of the heat as it was spiking. Like I felt like, I'm right back in the Valley of the Sun. But
I followed you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there we go. That is a wrap for today's program.
Even with the heat,
blue.
Stay frosty. As someone is
Steve says that.
Steve says that.
All right. Yeah. Everyone out there. He's Mace. You follow him on Twitter and all that stuff at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. OBT is a BFD, and we appreciate you. Until next time, be safe, be kind, know that you're appreciated. It's from Kempo, everybody. Stay tuned. And please, I want you to stay frosty.